Good evening, everyone. This is the Wareham Finance Committee. I want to welcome everyone this evening. Apologize for the difficulty seating. We don't have too many rooms here with our meeting that can accommodate a large people. And we sometimes have only two, and we do have a larger room, and I apologize had I thought that would be a number of people that we would have used it, but everyone seems to have made themselves comfortable. Today is Wednesday, March 15th. It's 6:30 PM. May I ask the clerk call the roll, please?
Sure. We have Jody Smith, Tom Worthen, Julie Moran, Gerald Stefanski, myself, Norma Scogan, and Bernie Pitchen.
Thank you. And Tom Hannon is absent as a result of the flu, which I'm glad he chose not to share. And in the Finance Committee, we have on the agenda, first item is the acceptance of any meeting minutes, and we don't have any as yet. I've dropped them off with Kelly. She has the DVDs, and I'm sure we'll begin perhaps next week to start seeing them. Next item is a discussion of the annual town meeting articles, the citizens' petitions in particular, and our first on our agenda is Article 22, which is the petition for the Parker Mills Dam. Mr. Cosgrove, Barry Cosgrove. How are you? Spoke to briefly on email. And if you like, sir, you have the floor. Do you have any other paperwork or anything?
No, I do not, but
Okay,
thank you very much.
Everyone has the material that you displayed, you gave to me, and it's all been replicated.
Okay,
So
great.
you have it in hand.
Thank you very much for your invitation to be here, and thank you for sliding me up on the agenda.
Okay, excuse me, just for the record, I want the record to show that Dominic attended. I have to go through that formal process.
Sorry I'm late, guys.
For you, Dominic, you're on time.
No, I've been good lately.
Keyword being lately.
My apologies for the interruption, Mr. Cosgrove.
Sorry, sir.
Not at all. And thank you very much for your service to our town. My name is Barry Cosgrove. The purpose of this petition article is to provide a measure of support to the Wareham Select Board in trying to do what needs to be done to finally get the Parker Mills Dam problem behind us. And it's a means to let the board know that the citizens have their back in what may be some uncomfortable moments in trying to get the ownership issue associated with the dam completed so that the work can be done in earnest. At the same time, it's a nudge because it's very clear that unless the town takes some affirmative steps, nothing is going to happen. It's to the other property owner's advantage that nothing happened. And it's my belief that visibility to this is useful. It's always better for citizens to have more information as opposed to less information about any issue. So the history of the dam, I'm sure you all know where it is. I hope you all know where it is. It's a high-risk dam, and it's important to understand that a high-risk dam is not because the dam is falling apart. In fact, the dam could have won an award for being the safest dam in the world. It's high risk because if it does fail, it's a likelihood of a loss of life and property damage and possible damages to the surrounding area. Going all the way back to 2007, this dam, in addition, was found to be structurally deficient and in poor condition. And its spillways were determined to be hydrologically inadequate, meaning the escape valves were inadequate. So we have a high-risk dam by definition, and it's a high-risk dam on steroids because it's in a lousy shape and has been in a lousy shape for decades. Located immediately next to the dam, you probably know, is our $4+ million investment in the old nail factory, some private residences on the left, and most important of all, a daycare center that advertises that it has infants all the way up to 12 years old in that facility. Their website says perfectly located. I will leave that to parents to decide whether or not that would be accurate. The quantified risks are clear. Engineers have been studying this once or twice a year since at least the 80s. And to get to the bottom line on the risk, if that dam were to fail, the velocity of the water would be 5.7 feet per second. So that means that our property, our citizens, would be inundated in a nanosecond. The daycare center is 250 feet away. 5.7 seconds into 250 feet means infants taking a nap would have about 38 seconds. So unless they're in a lifeboat with a life jacket and they get mark spits with them, it wouldn't be good, potentially, God forbid. And don't forget that the same storm that might overwhelm that dam would impact the ocean, which would be coming from the other direction, right? It's unlikely we'd have a rainstorm that would stop at the dam. So the whole area is high risk. Removing the dam is the smartest and best solution, and to the credit of the Select Board, they've voted that that's the right thing to do. Trying to fix it is good money after bad. So what's holding it up? Well, what's holding it up is that the State Department of Dam Safety has indicated that they're tired of this ownership issue. And until this is resolved, they're not going to give you any permits. And that's in an email that the town received recently. So the whole thing now, despite years of work, good work, by the towns, particularly recently, it's at risk. And the other owner is the A.D. Makepeace Company, according to the following. Beginning in if you can believe it, 1981, the Army Corps of Engineers says the owner is the A.D. Makepeace Company and the town. In 1991, a decade later, the town told the state the same thing. In 2015, the town had an independent expert land court certified title examiner do a title exam. 65% of the dam owned by Makepeace, 35% by the town. 2 years later, the state said, why don't we get a second opinion? They did. Same result. Book, page, down to the inch. Therefore, beginning around the same time, the state, year after year after year, they sent notices to Makepeace saying, you're the owner, you have a duty to this, that, and the other thing. According to Freedom of Information requests, all these requests by the state, all of them, have been ignored. As of this morning, I went to the assessor's office and the tax office, using the same locations identified in the title exam, owned by the A.D. Makepeace Company, and they paid the taxes. So what if I went here tonight, and you had all that evidence, and I said, well, it's not my dam, I'm not paying my fair share. You'd laugh me out of the building, right? But here we are. In addition, the Office of the General Counsel of the state's Department of Dam Safety has also agreed with this conclusion of ownership, and they've told Makepeace, quote, as owner, you're responsible for any adverse consequences that occur downstream of your dam as a result of anything that occurs in an extreme rainfall event. Now, the town did seek legal relief. They filed a complaint 2018, and they laid it all out. You own it, we're tired of paying your fair share, no freeloading. And at that time, one of the then Board of Selectmen from Wareham was quoted in the paper saying, none of us want to go to jail for spending public funds on someone else's dam. But here we are. The economics of this are clear. If you think about it, what precedent does this set to not act on this aggressively? Why wouldn't every other property owner take the exact same position? So what if it's title exam? So what if I'm paying the taxes? So what if I used it for decades? Now that a big bill is coming, maybe in the tens of millions of dollars, they say, ain't mine, excuse my English. Now, if they can produce some proof that everybody else is wrong, where is it? Where is it? Also, the town's inability to address this dam issue is frustrating our investment at the nail factory, because no competent bank or builder is gonna put a nickel into something that can be washed away in a nanosecond. So the health, safety, and welfare of those kids in that daycare center and our town investment warrants a strong nudge to our board to get this issue resolved. Vote no, you're free to do that. But what are we gonna say to a parent or a property owner who, God forbid, had a loss because of a failure? I think we need to stand up for our taxpayers. Private property owners should pay their own fair share, unless, of course, they can prove they're not the property owner in the face of the avalanche of evidence. No freeloading allowed. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Cosgrove. Any questions?
Who builds the dam?
That's unclear from the records. It's so old. It's so old, it's nothing in the records have said who actually built it. The ownership was transferred years later.
It's a shame that the town is in an argument with their probably largest landowner and taxpayer in the town.
Well, you know,
And has been for 15 years.
you're
that's
talking
an
about,
embarrassment.
you're talking about Makepeace now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, as you all know, their sand mining business, they've never been more cash positive in their lives. You're right.
How does, I'm curious, why is this a citizen's petition? Is it to expedite the process going forward and not, inserted by the town?
Well, it's a citizen's petition because the opportunity is presented to sort of nudge our elected officials and say, hey, look, it's great that you've tried to do this the way you have, but it's not working. You filed a lawsuit, you dropped it. What's happened 3-4 years later? Nothing. So the urge is to say, hey, if you don't do something, the state has told you you're not gonna get any permits. We won't permit it. So the state has woken up. The state has said, hey, enough. I personally would have done that 20 years ago myself, but
So there's a thought process that, if the citizens have spoken, that the state will, Makepeace might listen a little bit more, or, I don't know why they wouldn't want to give the property up, it's just something they're paying and things, but that's for another day. And I'm not opposed to it, don't get me wrong, I'm just trying to get it in my mind.
well, I think, my experience in business is that businesses do things for leverage. They do things for leverage.
Yep.
So if I hold this here, then maybe I get this there. That's my experience in business. I have no idea what their thinking is. But I do know this, if you do nothing, nothing will happen. And we already have a significant liability here. We're at least the 35% owner of the dam. So unless we can show we've done everything under the sun to solve this, then our liability is just going up. And I'm trying to find a way to get our town's liability to go down.
Dominic?
I'm Bruce Bryan. Not that I am for what you're doing, but the pond that the dam is holding back has not been at its highest level, so the amount of water you say in the flood action is a lot less than what you just said.
Well, sure.
It's a lot less because that pond hasn't had its height water in 15, 20 years. We've been in a drought, and I'm not for that, but that's scare tactic to say that much water and that. I don't think you should use that as a reference because
Well-
it's really low. It's been low for 10 years. So the amount of water that's gonna come through. But you're right, what you're trying to do, I agree.
Well,
I
it's
just thought I'd
not a
mention
scare
that.
tactic. I
Well-
quoted exactly from an engineering report that is based upon
But how long ago?
the science. Well, the science doesn't change.
Well, the water
science
level
doesn't
in the
change.
pond does.
Well, what the point is, if there's a storm, say a 50-year, 100-year storm, whatever, then the water, all of it goes up, right? And there's another factor to keep in mind, sir, that's, I'm glad you asked the question, I appreciate it, is upstream from these dams are multiple other dams that are privately owned and operated. Somebody makes a mistake upstream, and you're gonna get an abnormal flow of water. And that happened last summer. And there are some people in the room, I think, who are eyewitnesses to that. So is nature and there's negligence, there's lots of things that can happen. Whether you see the water level today a little low, or high, that wouldn't be what you'd bet the farm on.
Question? It might help your argument. What is the elevation of the dam, and what is the elevation of the daycare center?
The elevation of the dam is approximately 19 feet above the elevation of the daycare center.
Okay, then what, the water level in the dam now is within that 19 feet, or is it
Yeah, it would
below
be
the-
topping at 19 feet. It probably hangs around 14 feet at the
So,
present time.
so it's a few feet above the elevation of the daycare center right now, the level of the
Several
water?
feet, yeah. If you were to go to the daycare center and look up, but it's not just the daycare center. There are other human beings that own houses there. And there's our investment right
Yeah,
next to it.
but I mean, you've been talking about the daycare center, so that's what the
I
question.
appreciate that.
Question, is it, and I apologize, I'm new to Wareham, so I've been catching up on this. Is it the position of Makepeace that we don't own it, or is basically they're just mute? They've, I mean, it looks like the land court case, I'm a real estate attorney, so there was an action filed, petition filed, and was there a settlement before? I can look up the case,
No, they
but
dismissed the case.
why? Do we know?
That, I couldn't phantom an imagination for that.
Yeah.
And to answer your other question, according
to
to
that
state
point.
freedom of information requests, the answers we've gone back so far is that they've refused to answer the request.
Okay, so they're just,
It was dismissed because of not enough information. That's why it was dismissed. I don't know if they had these reports of ownership or whatever, but courts didn't want to hear it because there was
Oh,
no
that-
proof.
That's completely inaccurate. The
that's what I
complaint, the
It looks like
complaint
they
cites
appointed a
everything
title, yeah.
the complaint was well-written, it says everything I said. There was no finding by any court in the case, it was
well,
voluntary.
generally what happens
They
when you
dismissed
file
it for
an
non-information.
action, you have a land court examiner appointed, looks like that's what happened.
Yeah, no,
But-
that's not what happened, actually. The title examinations were done before the case was filed.
Generally, but then you have the
Usually the judge
examiner.
would, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Okay.
And that'd be great. I mean, that may be the smart move to do. Just say, hey, the chips will fall where they may. If you've got evidence that the registry of deed doesn't, bring it forward and let's get it
So
resolved.
is Makepeace absolutely disputing it, or is it they just, from what I've seen, they're not responding at all?
That's been what our records have shown.
My information is there have been negotiations that are ongoing. As to where they are in that process, I have no idea, I'm not
Yeah.
privy to that.
Right.
But they are still meeting in the issue. It seems to be relatively optimistic. It has to reach a conclusion sooner or later, because obviously if Makepeace owns a piece of that dam and it does occur, it's a significant liability. Even though on the assessor's maps, they seem to own only a piece, you say 65%. I couldn't accommodate that, but then again, I didn't see the detailed drawing of the dam either. They own most of what as I read it, the spillway
Yeah.
in that area and the little off building on the end of the big one. But that's the extent of the information that I have in terms of what is continuing on, although the court case, yes, indeed, it's a matter of record. But in spite of that, they're still negotiating and they're optimistic.
The title exam, just so you know, said that Makepeace owned the entire southern portion of the dam, if you were standing on Elm Street, and a portion of the northern to accommodate, in the aggregate, about 65%, and then the town about 35%.
Anything else? No? Thank you very much, Mr. Cosgrove.
Thank you all very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you for all your work.
Yes.
Yeah, good luck.
And I just say ahead of time, as far as voting on any of these articles, we typically do it in the following week. Gives us an opportunity to give it some thought and ask any additional questions and additional information. The next item on our agenda is Article 20, terminate the contract for Swifts Beach. Ms. Welch?
Big trade spaces, so I don't
Okay.
back for everybody. This seems to be the presentation spot now.
Right now it is.
I'll take it.
It's a more comfortable chair.
It is. I like this chair. My name's Jean Welch, and I'm in the neighborhood of the Swift Beach neighborhood. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to this committee. We spoke to the select board last week, and we have an article here to go to town meeting in April. And the warrant, actually, you asked for copies, I can, for the record, if you want a copy.
I believe we have all the paperwork that you turned in,
You have
and we
it?
have duplicates of it.
Oh,
yes.
okay. Probably rewrote this today.
If you had that, Bernie, can I read it?
It's a little different version. I practiced at the select board meeting, getting better. So the warrant is to see if the town will exercise its right under section 1.51 of contract 2022-001 to terminate the contract titled Low Pressure Sewer Force Main, and further that the town consider all options to repair the gravity sewer system. Lines on Wankinkoa Avenue, Murphy Street, Barn Street, Pleasant Street, Bayview Avenue, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto. So that's the official warrant. Of course, there's a lot of people here that have a lot of comments that you may want to say after I'm finished. But there's several, maybe we have one calling in?
Not mine.
There-
No,
You're gonna be
yours?
like the Academy Awards, shut your phones off.
I shut mine
This
off.
is my moment here.
She's been practicing all day for
I
this.
know. Lord.
My apologies.
It's like being on a date and you get a phone call, you know. There's several compelling reasons why we're submitting this article. At the spring 2022 town meeting, the sewer department presented Article 15 and stated that the grinder pump project installation costs, the ownership of the pumps, the cost of the grinder pump service, and the repairs would be covered by the town of Wareham, public sewer funds, and at no cost to the homeowner. The vote was to move forward on the project based on the information that was brought to the town meeting. Subsequently, in the fall of 2022, Article 17, the funding article language wasn't clear to residents of Hamilton Beach and the Swift's Neck area that $2 million being funded for engineering included grinder pumps because the terminology was low pressure sewer line. So there wasn't, the terminology wasn't used as grinder pumps. And so people started learning what grinder pumps were and didn't like it. There have been several meetings, including one held at the Swift Beach Association meeting room, where residents asked questions about the project. I attended that meeting. It was probably the first time that I heard about the project. I live in the neighborhood. It's right around the corner. A lot of us were at that meeting. And anyone who attended that meeting will attest to it didn't end well. It became a war of words, became questions were being asked, there were no answers. The one question that turned the meeting on its head was, somebody stood up and asked the question that I would think that they would have expected this question. Will the project cost individual homeowners any money? The answer to that question from the town was, I don't know, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. I don't know, you'll have to call an electrician and find out how much it's gonna cost to connect it to your home. It'll probably be between $400 and $4,000. And the meeting went downhill from there. They should have expected that question, because that was probably the most important question that anybody in the neighborhood would have had. I think some of you were at that meeting. I think a lot of these people were at that meeting. And that's when the meeting just went downhill. It became an individual conversation between the people from the town and individuals, and no one got control of the meeting from there. So as you can imagine, after a meeting like that, people started asking more questions, talking more about it. Wareham residents became more aware of the project and the potential cost and obligation for repairs to the homeowners. And there've been more questions than answers from the sewer department and the sewer commission. Residents have attended other meetings. They go to the sewer commission meetings, they've been to the select board meetings, they're all watching. If it's done anything, it's made people more involved and gotten to know more people in the town. The downside is that they're realizing that there really aren't any answers to the questions that they're asking. The answers to these meetings regarding homeowners' responsibility for the cost has become increasingly contrary to what the original town meeting voted on. When the collection of over 350 signatures, and that probably happened within a week and a half, 2 weeks, it was very easy to get people to read the warrant, listen to the conversations, and sign for it. They got 350 signatures within a couple of weeks to just put a halt to think more about this project. When that was underway, more and more residents became aware of the project and had more and more questions. There's been a groundswell of interest in this project among residents. I personally know way more about sewer systems now than I ever did. Never heard of a grinder pump before, never heard of a gravity sewer system, didn't know we were on a hill that gravity sewer systems were better than low pressure systems.
So we can go to you as the expert now.
You can, or I can point out a few people who you might want to ask those questions to. I probably know enough to be dangerous. So there are many residents with professional expertise who started being part of the conversation. And, I mean, everybody knows a little bit about everything, but I think enough residents know about sewer systems that they've looked into it, they've done their research, they know about it, they're professionals. And so that has given a lot more information to just common residents more than we had before, enough to know that the system is probably not the best idea. At least it's worth reviewing and looking it over again. Some of those residents are here tonight, and I'm sure you can ask questions and they'll be glad to comment on it. But basically, the residents have lost confidence in the original decision to replace the current gravity system with a low-pressure sewer line. There's compelling reasons that the town should step back from the decision. It's not to place blame or point fingers, it's just that we have more information now. I think the town has more information. I think the system that's in place, that there's been video taken of the pipes that are in the system, and there's differing beliefs about what's blocking it. There's debris in there, could the debris be moved? I don't want to get beyond my expertise, but there's video to say that it should be reviewed again. It seems to be the case, even if the best intentions were in place in the spring of 2022 to replace the gravity system, that the financial impact to individual homeowners and the choice of the best system for the area have come into question enough to cancel that decision and start from scratch again. We hope that the boards and the committees of the town of Wareham agree that the project needs to be reviewed and that the current gravity system be repaired and continue to be in use instead of scrapping everything that's in place underground and starting brand new with a system that we don't really have much confidence in. We hope that the vote in the spring will overturn the earlier decision to replace the sewer system. And in summary, the residents are asking the town to cancel the current contract, conduct a cohesive study of the current gravity system, review the video and the pipes and evaluate the current condition, and determine how much it would cost to actually repair the system that's already been in place instead of replacing it with a whole new system that will cost homeowners an inordinate amount of money to upgrade. A lot of these houses are cottages. They have old electrical panels. They don't have panels that can easily be.
Excuse me, may I suggest you turn it off?
I'm trying.
Do you know how to turn the volume off? That's what I need to do.
I'm not too.
This is
As
when
we
you
all,
need kids.
we're on the same, you should have brought your grandson with you.
Anyway, we would like you to review the original decision, and that's what the warrant to the town meeting is asking the town to do, is just go back and review it. Sometimes decisions are made with the best intentions, and then they just need to be rethought. No harm done if we start over and just look at repairing the system. And there's others in the room that have more expertise with sewer systems too, if you.
Would they like to speak?
I'm Bob Scanlon, and I'm available to answer any questions that you have. I've done a lot of research on the whole issue, so if you have any questions about it, to speak to Gene's point, the average age of the homes in the phase one is 86 years old. to put in the grinder pumps, you'd have to upgrade the electrical systems in a lot of the houses, and that alone would be expensive. I know one woman on Facebook said that she wanted to upgrade, and she wanted to put in central air, and her electrician told her that she would have to upgrade the electrical service, and that right there would be at least $5,000. So that's before you even get to the grinder pumps. It's been distressing how little information has been provided to the residents. There was a meeting, an impromptu meeting down at Swifts Beach a week ago Friday, and a couple of the sewer commissioners were there, and I mentioned to them, listen, you haven't even addressed the shared systems. There's a bunch of cottages, maybe there were former motels back in the day, but there's one or two properties, like, well, let's just call it 44A, 44B, and on the town's plans, the grinder pumps would go on the property closest to the street. So that homeowner would have 2 grinder pumps, 2 vents, and 2 alarm boxes. I don't know how it's gonna be powered. There was an issue with the sewer commissioners, the week previous, about shared systems across from town hall. I guess there's an issue with 3 houses over there that share, and they're having a problem. And it was a big issue, and to Commissioner Dunlop's credit, he mentioned this and asked a question at the last sewer commission meeting, and he got the answer that, well, I don't really know about that, but we'll address it as it comes up. This is all on the town's plans. I didn't make up any information. I drew from the town. And when Commissioner Dunlop was questioning about the position of some of these grinder pumps, the lots in Swifts Beach, especially in phase 1, very small. And some of the grinder pumps are gonna be positioned in people's driveways. And there's no way around that. But he said, oh, it's gonna be flat, you're gonna be able to drive over it. I said, no, you're not. I said, because according to the plans, I mean, there's gonna be a flange sticking out of the ground that's 58 inches in diameter, and the thing is gonna stick up 7.5 inches off the ground. And he said, I was wrong, I don't know where you got your information from. So I got it from the town. This is these are the blueprints and the drawings, and it's all there for you to read, you know? So it has been a little bit distressing about how little of the impact. Oh,
Oh, I think somebody hit the switch.
yeah.
There you go, perfect,
We'll be done in a second.
I throw him under the bus anytime.
But yeah, there's a lot of hidden financial burdens for the homeowners down there, and a lot of these homeowners, especially in phase 1, 2/3 of them are seasonal homeowners. And walking around down there on an almost daily basis, there are a lot of residents that are elderly or retirees, and to have to take out a loan, whether it's interest-free or not, you know, when you're 65 and up, it's not very enticing. So if you have any questions at all, yes.
Yes.
I don't know if any of you are lawyers, but, and I really do sympathize with what you're going through right now. But I was wondering on what basis you say the contract can be terminated. Do you know what the status of the contract is at this point?
I don't believe any work has been done yet, except that we've met the engineer of the company that's doing the work, has shown up at several meetings. My guess is that some money has probably been spent.
So you're,
That I'm not sure what
you're
your
saying
contract is.
exercise a right to terminate. Where does the right to terminate come from?
Is it in the document? Excuse me, Madam Chairman, is there any information you could, just on that single subject?
Yes, sir. Judith Whiteside, the contract has been put on hold. The contractors they are not bringing any of their equipment to the site. So that the town is trying to protect its loss potential under the contract.
That's my question.
Thank you.
Where,
Thank you very much.
what penalty might we pay if we terminate a contract that we've already entered into?
Yeah.
It just was a matter of understanding the scope of the situation.
In terms of the contract,
Yes.
that's my question.
But
And you wouldn't have
unfortunately,
privy to the contract
Yeah.
itself.
you don't have that expertise, so you
We
can
also
answer those
don't have a
questions
copy of the
fine.
contract.
Anything else? Would anyone else like to speak before we start the questions per se? Yes, sir.
Sylvester Shavoni, I live right a block from 76 in Bayview Street in Wackanoy. And they pumping in the summertime almost every week. Now they're pumping 2-3 weeks, in interval, over the street into the next manhole. Why we cannot build a pump from that manhole 3.5 feet down into the other manhole and solve the problem?
Well, unfortunately,
It's been done before. I'm a developer. I've done many development.
I understand it.
It'd be worth a try.
It would be. Unfortunately, it's not the issue we're discussing here this evening. We're discussing the actual determination of what they plan to do. And the other things are all up to the commissioners.
And beside the point, when they fix the area, because the pipe had collapsed and there was a sinkhole, and they were fixing it, I tried to express my opinion, and they just blew me away. What they did, instead to set a bed of crushed rock, and then set the pipe on top of that, they just wet sand, they put the pipe down, and they compressed it, the pipe went out like this. So it wasn't not fixed right in the first place.
I understand that. Unfortunately, that's past tense. And
Who's responsible for that project? Who knows? I don't know.
that's the sewer department. Is there any other comments you'd like to?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll let the audience, if they wish to comment on it first, before we ask questions. Hey, Dominic?
Bernie, what was the vote of the selectmen? Have they voted? Have the selectmen voted yet?
I don't believe they voted on this issue, no.
Judy, have they voted yet?
I don't have it.
Yeah, right. I
Oh, yeah.
believe
401.
that we.
401.
401.
401,
Yeah,
In favor of canceling the contract?
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
Our votes are favorable action, so it was a
Okay.
401.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the one is related to a sewer commissioner, so.
Correction, it's 500.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you voted anyway.
Thank you, Judy.
You voted unanimous.
Any other? Jody?
Yeah. A couple of things, and I'm not disputing what's right or what's wrong. I think there's been a drastic lack of communication through this whole process. I like to think I kind of stay on top of things going on around town, but I get kind of lost in some of the things being said or not said. But the big thing I took away from this whole project was the I infiltration into the thing. And one of the big issues is sump pumps. And this isn't a Swift's Beach problem, this is a statewide problem.
Excuse me, Jody, could you speak just to the issue and
Yeah,
not
I'm
get
getting
into
to
the
the
sump
issue.
pumps and all that, please?
No, but the reason that this is leading up to the grinder pumps, when they put a pressure system in, the grinder pumps kind of shut off from the sump pumps pumping into it, because that's a huge strain at the facility. And that's all I've really taken away from it, and that's a major issue. And having a gravity-fed line would not solve that problem. I don't think. I'm not an engineer, and I'm not the expert you are in these things. But
From what I understand, there are a handful of sump pumps in the area. of
Well, I
Swift
think,
Beach.
you, sir, on your Facebook,
Yes,
made a statement, you did all the analysis of every
of phase one,
home,
yeah.
125 homes, and there was only
It's
about,
146 homes. Of those, 25 have full or partial basements, and the rest except for, the rest are crawl spaces except for 6 which are on stilts. So
there's only
there's a
25
potential
homes.
for 25 sump pumps. And I would think that
Identifiable,
the
too.
sewer department would be able to go in and inspect to see if someone is,
they don't have that right.
They don't have the
they
right.
don't?
Yeah,
No,
it's trespassing.
can't go on private property.
Huh,
not
okay.
without permission.
No, you,
All right.
I can walk up to the door and ask you,
Yeah,
but you don't have to
Not
say yes.
recommended.
all
If
right.
you have an illegal
but
sump
that's
pump,
the
you're probably
issue.
gonna say no.
Regarding the
Correct.
pumps,
It
the
is
pumps,
illegal.
it was possible to identify the likelihood of those who have it, that's all. But back to the subject matter, please.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I took away from the whole thing was these grinder pumps would relieve some of those, you know, maybe that's something that needs to be looked at, I had no idea how many homes
Supposedly the grinder pumps would shut off
we shut off if
when the.
Yeah, the grinder pumps, put out,
Sensitive for some reason.
I think it's 15 pounds, 15 gallons per second. And some pump can pump around 80, the average sump pump would pump about 80. So it would quickly overwhelm. The grinder pump sits in a tank that's approximately 70 gallons. So once it filled up, the grinder pump would not be able to keep up with it. It would set off the alarm, notifying the sewer department, and they'd have to come down, reset it, and at that time, they'd make a determination. If they found a sump pump in action, the homeowner would be fined, or
Yeah.
whatever, I don't know what.
Thank you.
See, I just think I've stated this, new construction in town should have a grinder pump put in, because the flushable, non-flushables create problems even in septic systems.
Yes,
That's a problem for everybody,
Yeah.
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, and a big problem for the wastewater treatment plant.
big problem for the waste, yeah, the
Very.
pump stations down.
We actually
Okay.
had a tour, and it's a serious problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't allow any more discussion. Some pumps are ready, please. To the issue of the project that has been proposed by the commissioners and is presented this evening. Anything else? Yes,
My name is Leslie Mason, I live on Pleasant Street. My family has owned the house for 65 years, and I remember the sewer being built. And the fee at that time to connect was pretty hefty back then, in '78. That aside, one of the concerns that I had was that no one received any notification at all that this project had been approved and was being, going forward, until there was a meeting in August. But by then, no one, and, you know, having lived in another town most of my life, we got notifications when something was impacting you like that, you were notified. And that was brought up at the meeting at the association, and someone said, oh yeah, we thought about putting it in the tax bill, but we didn't. So I guess my point is that no one was notified, so it kind of all came afterwards, as opposed to if we had known that this was what was, proposed back in April, maybe it would have been dealt with differently, I don't know. But I do think that they were very remiss in not notifying. And a lot of the people are seasonal, but they all pay taxes. And if it went in a tax bill, they would all get that notice. So I just needed to say that.
thank you. Ms. Welch, the meeting you referred to, I was there. And I ended up being outside, talking to those who were leaving the meeting early, and listened to their frustration and how they felt, and I felt they certainly had cause. I was embarrassed as an official within our government, how those people, you and everybody else down there, was treated. That meeting was held as a notification that the contract had been issued, which meant there was a lot of research prior to that had to have been gone on. Yet the commissioners themselves, I can't find the right words to say, I could not understand how they could go forward with such minimal knowledge, considering the cost and the impact itself. I was embarrassed. Had I had been over there, I would suggest this stops right now. It's over. Close it down. We're gonna start from square one all over again. And we're gonna talk to the people who they are servicing. They're responsible to you because you pay fees for their service. And they're changing their service to you.
And the people who were in that room expected that if they asked questions, they would have had answers to them.
Oh, the presentation was horrible.
Right.
Horrible. I've been in marketing all my life. That was horrible. My gosh. My apologies for expressing my interest. Yes, you got a
But
comment?
there wasn't enough,
First of all,
well, let me just say
I'm-
one thing
Yeah.
about the meeting. There wasn't, and the people came to that meeting thinking that they were going to get information about a project that may or may not be moving forward. The group hadn't been an organized group yet, so, but the people making the presentation was an organized group. It didn't appear that way. I mean, the audience wasn't an organized group. They came as a neighborhood a neighborhood association that just was listening for information. The people presenting should have been a very organized group,
Well, they had legitimate
and kept
questions
track of the meeting.
and didn't have the
And
information to get
and
the
it just
answers.
went, I mean, there was face-to-face.
I moved into Wareham 5 years ago. I lived there full time. I found out about it at the beach. Another thing that's not being mentioned is we lose power. I lived there full time. So not only do you have to hook up electrical plumbing, but most people have to get a generator. Because last time I lost power, 4 days. I lost everything in my freezer and 2 refrigerators, everything.
And there's nothing worse than not being able to flush.
Yep. And to top of it, if we don't hook up, they're gonna condemn our homes.
Well,
I was just gonna say in regards to the power, I actually asked that question at that meeting, in reference to the fact that we had lost power for 4 days. And the, answer to my question was, and what if we lose power? Well, you need to just go out and buy a generator. That was the response. Go buy another expense, go buy a generator. And then they did say, well, you can call us and we'll try and come down and
Plug in something.
start
I heard,
all of them.
yeah, I heard they could set plug up outside and they'll kind of ride around the neighborhood and plug it in so the
Yeah,
pump
so
ups every 2 days or whatever. I don't know what the
120
number
homes
is,
they're gonna
but
do,
I heard that. I don't know if it's true or not.
I'm Steve Kelly, I'm on Pleasant Street, and it's a breath of fresh air to hear what you said. From any kind of town or city official, you know, saying that, it gives me a lot of relief. But I wanna know, who misrepresented the project to the town that it would cost, there would be no cost to the homeowner? Did it go before the finance commission, or was it a selectman issue?
no, it's the sewer commissioners control that.
And then they voted on, they vote on it because, well, I'm assuming they had a best interest in that. And they said, oh, it's gonna cost the homeowner nothing. Obviously, there's a little mendacity there.
I know, well, I was chair here at the time, and I just had the paperwork that was supplied to us, and we didn't know the depth of it.
We were told, if I'm not mistaken, that there were gonna be multiple, because the question came up, and I think we posed the question to them when they presented the original idea, that there were gonna be multiple information sessions prior to the project being announced to start, not at the start. I believe that's how it was presented to us originally.
Our approval okays the expenditure of the funds. It doesn't mean any contracts have been signed, because they can't go forward without our approval.
I just feel that if it was a misrepresented project, could you attack it that way and say, well, we had no idea that it was gonna cost the homeowner, this was totally misrepresented to us, is that fraudulent?
We advise
That's a
town
tough
meeting.
call.
The town meeting makes the final decision, and their vote was to approve. And so, yes, that would prevent them to go forward. To go backwards would be this issue here. May be able to do it, I'd have to ask, I'm certain someone may ask our attorney, town attorney, would this terminate the contract? Or, as Ms. Whiteside has said, we can cancel the contract, but there's penalties involved.
You're gonna eat the penalties, there's no way around that.
And that's an issue, we have to find out what those penalties are, how to go about doing it.
Right. I understand that, but at some point, the finger of blame has to be pointed at someone for misrepresenting this.
Sometimes it's better to move forward than try to.
I understand that,
It's-
small
But
town
you have to
politics
have
and
it as
whatnot.
a, okay, this screwed up, we're not gonna repeat this screw up again. And start
But
from the beginning.
it was voted on at the town
Yes.
level.
Town meeting approved.
Town people approved it.
Yes, they did, but
But that's a
it was
fair-
misrepresented to
It's a
them.
fair point. If
No, I
our
understand, yeah.
decision and the town's decision was based on misinformation or
Misinformation.
incomplete
Yeah,
information,
incomplete.
that's significant.
Or not even misinformation, just false information. You know, if it was brought forward like that, I'd say you have a pretty good point to say, well, you know.
I know, it's so time consuming to eat up the tar and feathers.
Oh, I understand. If you keep it boiling all the time, it really is. Exactly. Think about it.
It also,
Point well taken, indeed, indeed.
it also may not have been misinformation from the contractor. It may have been just misinformation from the
I would
sewer
hope my
commission.
fellow colleagues on the other committee had misinformation that they were operating under.
From the
And,
contractor.
yes, it doesn't sound like that. It just seems so inappropriate for the situation that you're in. And I must compliment you. I think you got every citizen down at Swift's Beach. Starting at the intersection going down.
And we can be powerful if we need to
And you show up.
And you should be.
be. Salt water is good for us.
And I do want to thank you, the fact that you all got together, talked about this, and came to us with this information. I mean, we really do appreciate it. It's great, we love to see the town get involved, and so thank you for giving us all of
Thanks
this
for letting us do
information.
it.
Yes, it's nice to be heard.
The worst scenario is I don't believe the system will solve the problem. There may be even more problems in the future, because we're dealing with a soft base of sand. So they're gonna rebuild a new system, it's gonna happen the same thing with.
Well, we don't know that. But what's gonna happen now, if town meeting approves, it'll go to the selectmen, and they'll have to make a decision based on
It
that.
should be studied better,
Yeah,
engineered better.
but it's the administration that has to ascertain the penalties, et cetera, if they're acceptable. I'm not sure how that'll handle it, because obviously monies have been appropriated, they're appropriated for a purpose, not necessarily to pay penalties. And when you get involved in government, you got all those hairs you have to split and everything.
If the contractor wants to do business with the town, we'll wait, see if we straighten things out, and you'll still get some work.
That's not our
That's the
side of the
way
house. It's,
good business is
Yeah,
run.
we can't get involved in that, other than say what you're attempting to do, and I can say, we'll take a vote on it, as I say, next week, and whatever happens at town meeting, if they approve it, yes, then it falls into the administration lap as to how to solve the issue. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be.
Right.
This is not, we cannot require them to do something specific. Mass general laws would prevent us from doing that. We can advise them that it would be, we feel in our best interest that they consider doing it. It may not happen. Be prepared for that. It may not happen, because they may not be able to do anything to solve the issue, because it's gone into a certain period of time. Yes, sir?
To me, right now, like you say, you don't wanna get into everything, but right now, the object is to stop the contract. Whether there's fines or not, until more investigation has been done and it's looked at properly, to see what is the best solution.
It has
I've
been
talked with a few people on the committee. I've lived in Swiss Beach before, I've been a town resident for how many years, whatever, you know, blah, blah, blah. Right now, put a freeze on what we can, hold it, pay the little penalties, and let's relook at this, and then we can talk, like you said, about the different solutions and proper investigation on how it's done. Let's see some video. I've done it myself many years. I've been in Boston many years, they do it every day. We can present that to the town and say, they're doing it today, they did it yesterday, they did it last year. Why don't you do it here? Are they talking about just open construction digging? Of course the houses are gonna cave in. No, you use shoring, boxes, dewatering systems. All that stuff should be common knowledge to whoever's in charge of this, and if it's not, well, shame on them, but let's at least stop what's going on so that we can present that to them and say, okay, now you take a look at what we're presenting to you, maybe we can help you out with some knowledge.
I just want to be sure that you understand, and I've been doing this for 20 years now, so I have a little bit of credibility, and the reading of the Attorney General's statements and some of our attempts at changing things. Town meeting, if it disapproves it, does not mean it's stopped. It's only advice and implies a request.
Exactly, so let's request not to change it, let's request just to pause it, so that
But
we can look at
it
it.
may not stop.
I understand
not
that,
stop,
but if you
because
try to
it-
tell them we're gonna change and redesign the whole system, they're gonna say, hey, who the hell are you? If you tell them we'd just like to pause it so we can review it,
Not even,
and then we'll
no,
see.
please. Understand very specifically, this may not stop it. Understand that.
Passes.
Even if it passes.
I can't stand
Even
up
if it,
to all the-
even if it passes,
Thank you for your
it
time,
may
everyone.
not stop it. I'm being frank with you.
Whoever's in charge of that little group that's going on through Swiss Beach, my name is Chris Fernandez, and I'm the one you're trying to get in touch with.
Okay.
So I will
Well-
be in touch.
Okay.
Can I
Okay.
just say that
Sorry to
it is a breath of
outburst
fresh
a
air
little bit,
to
but
have,
Pardon?
when I
it
hear
is,
foolishness, I
it
can-
is encouraging to at least have this group listen to what we had to say.
Sure.
And the select board to listen to what we had to say. Because it's not about placing blame and pointing fingers. It's just about having the town as a whole look at the problem as a problem. It's not you against us, it's a whole lot of
not.
citizens.
It isn't, but it just,
You represent
irrespective of what the
us.
problem is, or even the seriousness of the problem, we have to follow
Oh, yeah.
certain
The law.
Yeah,
prescribed
we do one step at a
processes to
time.
do it.
Yep.
And sometimes you can stumble over one and find out, oh crap, who the hell wrote that?
Right. No,
I mean, we
And I
make decisions.
appreciate you letting us know that, because I think a lot of people do feel like from Swiss Beach, they say, oh, the project's on pause, oh, we're all set. And I think you were just trying to point out to us that you're not all set. You have to stay on top of it and keep doing what you're doing and trying to get your points heard and understood. And so I appreciate that.
Yes, I want you to, yes, and I tell you that because you can't stop.
Right, I appreciate that.
Yeah, we make decisions based on the best information at the time.
right, right.
You know, and I'm not saying anybody misrepresented anything, but we just take what we have in front of us and make a decision as will town meeting moving forward, you know, and just keep in mind, you know, you're gonna get 5 minutes to present
Oh, yeah, yep.
your
And we want
argument.
the
I'm
school
not gonna say
commission not
argument.
to
You
see
can
us as
present
the
your-
enemy
your
either.
Standing on this, it just, you know,
Right.
Right.
those are the people you really have to convince.
But it's not a win, we don't want the sewer commission to feel like they have to win something by moving it forward, that, you know, we're all in this together. And
We are.
any one of us could be on the sewer commission at any given point in our lives too, and we would wanna work for the community, so.
Can I just say one more quick thing, a little bit off? We do have and I was a little disappointed, we do have an election coming up, and there was a sewer commission seat open. And I would have bet money that I would have seen somebody from Swiss Beach trying to get on there. And
There's a requirement, I checked into it.
Yeah, I honestly thought there would be somebody to step up.
There is an open position for a user.
On the sewer commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, at large, yeah.
Sewer user at large, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's the
Yes.
Petition's already due, right?
The nomination period has,
Closed.
it's closed.
Oh, closed?
But you can run a sticker campaign. I can tell you who did that.
There's one person here who's done
I
it.
don't know why there's a lot of eyes looking at me, but.
Well, you're the expert.
Well, under the circumstances, you could hang out your shingle as a consultant now, down in that local area.
I could. We're pretty high up, I could put it right up the top.
Any other
We
questions
look
from the
at-
It'd
committee?
be nice to have a voice at that
Yeah, it
level.
really would, for
You know, I
sure.
mean, that's all I'm trying to say.
It's a critical part of town, and there are several others that fall within the same category, not having a problem, but I mean, being next to the beach, you have minimal lot sizes, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, we will take that under advisement.
All right, let's move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you again. Next item on our agenda is Article 21,
Want to give a chance.
the Town of Wareham Playground Revolving Fund. Ms. Smith, a familiar face? Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you again for your candor.
Thank you.
Breath of fresh air.
Thank you.
Basketball game tonight.
I started home. and expand.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty
Nobody's
much
staying to
the
listen to
entire
Claire.
project,
Stay and listen, but everyone's leaving.
Hi, Claire.
How are ya?
Very well, thank you, dear. And yourself?
I am well, thank you.
Welcome.
When are you doing your presentation again? When are you doing your presentation again? Not again, to Historical Society.
Trish,
Monday night.
Just coming with that.
Monday night.
I'm gonna stand up there and talk for a while.
Okay.
You don't feel neglected that everyone left.
No, it's wonderful. I have to tell you that standing in front of 500 people isn't intimidating as standing in front of all of you. Usually I'm just sitting up there, you know, and just making
We'll be
mine.
kind, we'll be kind.
I hope so, I hope so. I was contacted several years ago. The playground in Swiss Beach was named after my dad, and actually, 30 years ago, my family put together that playground. It was not a town playground. We raised all the funding, built it, and then donated the land and the play equipment to the town. So I've seen over the 30 years that there never was any maintenance to it afterwards. We have, and I wish they were here tonight, the actual catalyst in getting the Swiss Beach Playground done is actually a young lady out of New Hampshire. And then Marie Gregg, who is involved in most of the playgrounds around town, is the other member of this trio. I sort of have just stepped in to try to walk through the process because it was named after my dad. If you look at what's been done over the past several years in rejuvenating the playgrounds that had deteriorated, most of them had really gotten pretty bad. Some of them weren't ADA compliant. They've never stepped up to, the town has never stepped up to the plate to take care of them. So when CPC money came available and some of the neighbors started asking for funding, if you look at Lukey Playground, Oakdale, Lopes, Shangri-La, and the Swiss Beach Playground, about $850,000 has been spent. And that's just what I could document in CPC funding. There also has been a lot of private donations. I know for the Swiss Beach Playground, we've raised close to $30,000. We now have applied for 2 more grants. So what bothers me is that we have, as neighbors, gotten together, gotten out, raised money, built these playgrounds and brought them up to the point where they're wonderful. I don't know if any of you have gone down to Swiss Beach. It's an amazingly done playground. We have a pirate ship on the beach. What bothers me is going forward, how do we take care of this? And for the most part, it's always municipal maintenance that gets called upon to take care of it. We're short-staffed. I mean, in my lifetime, we used to have 54 maintenance people. We're down to 6 or 8. It's very difficult for them to keep up with it, and I don't foresee that they're going to be able to keep up with it. But I do see that the neighbors will continue to step up and help and volunteer. However, you can borrow CPC funding or you can go for grants for new equipment, but you cannot use it for maintenance. So going forward, what I would hope with this article is to create a revolving fund so that in the next few years, every year we could sort of walk through the playgrounds and look and see if there's a swing that's broken, a basketball net that needs to be replaced, wood shavings that have to be replaced so that they're ADA compliant so we can get mobility over them. There has to be some sort of mechanism so that it doesn't, the burden doesn't fall on municipal maintenance to pay for little things. If we can check the playground, if it's, you got a little rust spot, I'm sure the neighbors would be willing to spend a Saturday to go down and sand it and paint it, but how do we pay for the paint? Or how does municipal maintenance pay for the paint? With the picket fencing that we're putting in at Swiss Beach, there's little pins that have to go in it, and I think the bill at Lowe's was significant.
So if a car drives through that picket fence and all of a sudden now you don't have a contained playground, it would be nice if municipal maintenance, rather than taking it out of their budget, could go to this revolving fund and spend a couple of $1,000s to repair that picket fence. I'm just asking that we create a fund that minor repairs can be done. I did hear, I watched the selectmen's meeting last night, and that Selectman Flavin seemed to think that this was a mechanism to hire maintenance men. That is not the purpose at all of this article. It is just mainly to take care of what we have. You all know that if you change the oil in your car, you get longer life out of it. If we can take care of these playgrounds where we have spent, and if you look at CPC funding, between the playgrounds and the fields, we spent close to $2 million. So I think really we need going forward a mechanism that, if the neighbors have to get together on a Saturday to do the work, we'll do it. But I don't think it's fair to put the burden on municipal maintenance budget to do to pay for minor repairs. I think we should have a revolving fund. So that's the purpose of my article.
Yes, Noah?
How did you come up with $100,000?
If you go in and you look at most of the revolving funds, some of them did have 100,000, and that translates year to year that you would roll it over. I know that you've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 playgrounds. Divide $100,000 by 5. It's not a lot of money per year for maintenance, if need be, but, it doesn't mean that it's gonna be spent, but it would be in there. If we have a major hurricane or a nor'easter or something like that, and, you look at Lopes Playground, you look at Swiss Beach Playground, if that wood shavings gets carried out and you have to. So it doesn't mean that you're gonna spend that every year. Who knows what kind of maintenance has to be done, hopefully insignificant, but we should take care of what we have.
But you don't envision this being used for equipment at all?
No, it would not be used
Just
for
for
equipment.
maintenance.
People could go for CPC grants for equipment. This is just for maintenance.
Yeah. Revolving funds have certain limitations.
Yeah.
Like Alan's suggestion, this could be another person. Oh, you don't pay salaries out of revolving funds.
No, it's just for maintenance.
Just for my mind, so you're really not looking for power out of maintenance. You're kind of looking, so for an example, I'm gonna pick on Swiss Beach, it shouldn't be the hot topic tonight. So they need mulch down there, so Dave Menard could order 5 yards of mulch, dump it down, have it dumped down there by whomever, and they would spread it.
Yep.
By a major thing, I mean, they would step up, I'm not even questioning what they would do if they had to, but, so it's more for like, things like that.
Right.
Is there a bit of an organization you're gonna create that will make decisions around what needs to be done? I mean, would there be a bit of a survey every year? How do you
I would hope
how do
that
you
once a
think
year,
decisions would be made?
yeah, I would hope that
Priorities would be established?
once a year, that municipal maintenance would go around and look at the playgrounds and make a list, here's what needs to be done, so that going forward, there is a plan of what has to be repaired or not repaired. I mean, it just makes sense that you would do that.
Many of those playgrounds, excuse me, Matt, many of those playgrounds were created by a committee locally, for
Right.
one.
Right.
And usually it's often easier for maintenance to go back and do the work than it is to find the money in their budget
No,
to
exactly.
buy the materials for the work.
So that was my thought, is these committees still in existence who could make the decision? It seems like that, they know better than anyone what might need to be, and then
And I'm
work
sure,
with maintenance.
I'm sure if they saw something, then they would, pick up the phone and call maintenance and
Yeah.
say, we
Just be
noticed,
good to have a process in order to do that.
we noticed something.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, is a lot of the parents that go to the playground, if they see a broken swing, they're gonna call and say, hey, there's this swing broken, can we fix it?
Right.
I know as a parent myself, we got Lukey Playground behind my house. And I can tell you right now, after Lukey Playground was built, if something was wrong, we'd be saying, hey, we need this, we need that. I just bought a couple of nets for Lukey because Lukey needs nets. But if we had the fund, then I wouldn't have to buy it.
Right.
Like someone broke the sign over there and they just fixed it a couple months ago.
Yeah, that was broken last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 years?
Yeah.
I slept most of that.
Yeah.
You missed that one.
And I think it's a great idea. I guess, but to me, it's about process, is the maintenance department has so many priorities, competing priorities. So, challenge is you identify a swing, and you may have to wait. until they are able to get there,
But at
but,
least there's money for it.
yeah.
But at least
right.
it's
Right, they
Dominic?
can buy it.
Exactly, exactly.
Claire, funding for this?
Fundraising, donations.
Okay, so it's not gonna, you're not looking for it to come out of the budget?
No, I believe there's something in the works to put something in to initially start it.
Okay.
I can't tell you positively, but we're working on that, we'll try to make a
You
donation.
feel once you get it started, fundraising and grants will keep it funded, it should be no
Yeah, people
problem.
wanted to do a bench or something, and we
Yeah.
would be willing to put money
There you
into
go.
it. And I'm sure that the groups, would still go out and have fundraising. We just applied for 2 more grants, one for $10,000 and the other, I think, is $2,500 for bike racks, so that the kids don't lean their bike up against the fence. There will be continue to be interest, but like I said, if there's a swing that's broken, I'm not gonna run to Lowe's.
No, it's a great idea, I just was curious.
We
on
can
funding.
say, look, we'll go down and help you. Matter of fact, we're going, I think, the end of this month to lay out all the pickets for Swiss Beach, and we'll be down, helping to put them in.
You can also sell them, put their name on them like
Oh,
they
we did,
yeah.
we
That's a
raised
great way,
about
fundraisers, yeah.
$27,000
It's a
that
great way, sure.
Yeah, so, I just feel it's like anything else, if you have something, and especially if it's something that's town-owned, we need to take care of it.
Yep, I agree.
We need to take care of it.
And the
Because
most
we don't have a
difficult,
Parks and Recreation department, we'd all love to have that, so this is
Yeah,
a nice.
we used to.
Small step
I was
towards
gonna say, we
something.
did,
We did,
Yeah.
among other things,
I remember.
yeah.
Did Shangri-La Shores ever get done?
It's in the works. I wish Marie were here because she could tell you better than I. She's the playground guru. I think they have a little bit of a problem with drainage that they're trying to work on.
They
Swiss
haven't-
Beach
they
is not completely done either. We need to put the picket fencing in. I'm working on potentially donating the sign for that. That's gonna go up. Our target date, to rededicate it is Memorial Day weekend. We'll be having the Toe Jam puppets come because we have the pirate ship. Hoping to get some pirates to come and maybe build some treasure around the playground. If you haven't
There's a
been,
pirate right there. Right?
yeah, he's got a lot
They
of
want a
treasure.
happy pirate.
Yeah, if you haven't been down there,
It's great.
we also have adult equipment down there, so that when they bring their children, they can sit there and do some exercises. We hope to put some more in there as well, because we think that's important, make it multi-generational.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And I think if you have parents there while the kids are playing, there's more oversight, so there's not damage.
Sounds good.
anything else? Oh, thank you very much, Claire, nice seeing you
And to
again.
answer your question, Monday at 7:00.
Okay.
I won't change your subject. Howie and I will be talking about our trip to Wareham, England.
Oh, nice.
So, telling you all.
Are you still in correspondence with the people over there?
Yes, yep. Matter of fact, I would like to go back during the coronation time.
Oh.
And then I'm thinking, nah, I don't know if I
Yeah.
wanna go to London, but we may go outside and then go.
Well, if you
after.
get an invitation,
Yeah, we do. The former mayor would like us to come back and stay with her, and John and Marie have invited us back, and there's a lot of things we haven't seen. The mayor and the mayoress, they have a new mayor now, but Keith Green and Vera, they would love to come back. We have, we went, I know you got more stuff. Because Howie, we had to check out the fire department, so we have 2 gentlemen that wanna come here. And I think the former mayor would like to come to New England and have a tour, so we've been in contact.
of course, you can
Sounds
give them a
great.
tour in a larger car.
So, just, I hope that you'll support the article, and, I think it's something that we need to do.
Sounds good, Claire.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Good night, Claire.
For those that are wondering, the boys' basketball team is winning 35-10.
So they just updated it, so they're going into the fourth quarter. Vikings are 55 and the opposing team is 23.
Nice.
Go Vikings.
So next game, state champion.
Oh,
Nice.
whoa.
Yeah.
Those that wanted an update.
It's your daughter
Judy,
here.
being the typical politician, is still talking out the Gordon.
Want me to get her?
Would you please?
I'll get her. I'll get it.
Steal another minute. The, Wareham Militia is doing a 1776 colonial building show, April 15th. We are gonna bring Wareham's history alive and, talk about Israel Fearing, John Kendrick, John Gall, Bazilla, remember his last name, Noble Everett. So we want to bring Wareham's history alive, but we'll show you what they were during that period of time. We'll talk about, we have a supper that will, Max City's gonna portray John Galt, who was his ancestor, Galt Road. So we'll try to bring some of Wareham's history alive, if anybody has an interest in history. We've put a lot of work into it, so hope we have a good crowd.
What was the date again?
April
It's
15th.
Patriots
Tax
Day
day.
is Saturday, April, I think it's April 15th, 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock at the high school.
Yeah, that would be Saturday, because April 18th is tax day.
Yeah.
Howie will be portraying Lieutenant Josiah Smith, who was George Washington's lifeguard.
In full regalia?
Yes, full regalia. We'll show you everything. The town clerk is our laundress. So, I think you'll find it interesting, you know, to hear why some of the names, Mackey's Bridge, Lincoln Hill, how that all came about from different families. So if anybody's got an interest in history,
Yes, indeed.
so.
I told her, Bernie,
Yes,
you don't listen to me, she don't listen to me.
I've got it on my notes.
But thank you for her time.
Well,
We can move to adjourn.
There's still like 15 people there.
okay, while we're waiting for Madam Chairman to return, I'm gonna ask you later to come up with volunteers. As I said, I ask each of you to pick an article and to write the Finance Committee's recommendation, and we'll go through that later on and see if we can't get some. We haven't heard them all yet. I think I gave you, perhaps I hadn't as yet though, because I just received it myself. That would be the list of all the articles on the special town meeting, and the list is incomplete.
There were a couple in red, does that mean there was a question of whether they're gonna be or not?
I'm not sure if they just hadn't been voted on yet, as Cassie's choice of colors.
Red's fine.
That's correct. I mean, they'll cost a lot.
Ms. Whiteside, welcome.
How can I entertain you?
Let me entertain you.
Recite a poem.
There were some questions regarding the office building at Tremont Nail. As to, was the developers, potential developers interested in it? Are we interested, is it value to us to actually take care of the mold in the windows?
Okay. The developer, the master developer is still negotiating with the Wareham Redevelopment Authority. One of the issues, of course, is the dam. The dam. That's a multiple, I'm saying dam several times, okay. We are encouraging the master developer to move forward. They have plans to use all of the buildings. And in fact, we believe they have plans to purchase land or buildings across the road, some of those other oldies, but really neat ones, because they're on the historic register. The select board hasn't yet taken a position on the building. We may or we may not choose to endorse it. I can't speak for my fellow select board members. Personally, I think that if you own something, you keep it up. And if it costs $200,000 to do something, I don't see that, first of all, it's not a $4 million investment, it's a $2-something million investment. You heard some misinformation earlier this evening. So, do we want to have that end of town be cleaned up, reinvented, reinvigorated, and turned into commercial and residential property? Yeah. Yeah. Do we have to put some money into it because for years nothing happened? Yeah. Did the town make a mistake in purchasing the property? I have no idea. Did the town make a mistake by not getting the, a lease from the sellers? Okay, so were the mistakes made? Yeah. But I think, I heard somebody this evening say, it's better to look forward than it is to look backwards. Did I get that one right? Okay, good.
Close enough.
We got it.
So, I'm guessing that this select board will endorse it. It's actually,
These are rough
because the select board is in charge of that building, that property. Unlike every other property except for the Deacon School, the select board, in fact, have control of those two properties. Other than that, under the charter, Mr. Sullivan, the town administrator, is in charge of every building except for the schools. So, did I answer your question, or did I confabulate enough?
No, I think it filled in a few gaps. We can take care of the rest ourselves, filling in the gaps. Questions? Comments?
I think the only question I have is, does the building have a historic restriction on it now?
No.
Okay, so we're gonna put a historic restriction on it in order to do these repairs. Is that
Correct.
gonna affect
Okay,
the
so-
ability of the developers on that property?
It would only be for that specific building, not the entire property, because it would be dedicated specifically to that building.
And that,
And while they have plans for it, I'm not privy to exactly what they're gonna do. I know in the, I'll call it the long building, the halfway underground building, that is scheduled, or the last plans I saw, put another story and make the top stories residential, and I have a great view down the river, and the commercial, industrial, retail is what they're really talking about.
Yeah.
So, I think their plans are great. I would like that they had moved forward in a more timely fashion, but COVID, and now, supply chain. I mean, look at our fabulous Penrose development, Littleton Drive.
would putting the historic restriction on that make a difference to the developers?
I can't answer that question. I'm
I
guessing
think that
because.
would be my big question.
Yeah, I'm guessing that because it would be used for the outside, they can do what they want on the inside. But I don't know the answer to that question, Matt, I'm sorry. I
I
can,
think that's my
I'll,
only
let me
question
see if I can get an answer for you and let you know.
Please, yeah, that would be helpful.
This may,
Norma?
is slightly off subject, but is the company store part of what they're thinking about doing something with?
Yes.
That's, I drove by there a couple days ago and I thought, this really should be part of whatever they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually,
The other
that building
building,
has,
too.
yeah,
There's another one.
there's another one
Right,
to the left,
Yeah.
right. And actually, the company store one, if you look underneath the step, what do you call it, sill? Okay, the plaque is actually underneath that.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's cool,
Yeah, very cool.
so,
Yeah, the Historical Society owns a building there, right next to it,
Yeah, fearing,
Fearing Tavern, yeah.
Fearing Tavern, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, because most of it isn't in the historic district. I don't understand why, but don't get me going on that.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Jerry.
If there is mold in it, and I don't know if there is or not, when would that be taken care of?
I can't answer that question, because I haven't been in the building, to be honest with you. But certainly, somebody who's going to be redeveloping the property would have to address that.
Well, let's say it would be 2 years before the dam is resolved and 2 years before anyone would do mold. You'd have to do something if that was I'm just thinking it's good, if you're gonna button up the outside.
Right.
You can't wait for that building to be taken over by a developer. You have to go in and do something, I would think.
Right, we will have to protect the integrity of the building, because that's what we're trying to do now. The issue of the dam, you said a couple of years.
No, well-
I don't think you and I are gonna live long enough.
Be dead long time before that's done.
I mean, that is.
Taking vitamins,
Yeah, so, yes,
It's a
may I?
decoration.
Yes,
Okay. The select board did vote to have the dam removed in its entirety. Sorry, I've been doing this all day long. And that entails studies, it entails grants, it entails, a whole bunch of stuff. Because there are other parties who are interested, like Trout Unlimited and organizations that represent riverine fishes and all that other good stuff, there are a whole bunches of additional funding sources that we think might be interested in helping getting it done. It's true that you can't you can't sell something you don't own, okay? Okay, so, yeah, if we own 35%, we can't apply for a grant because we don't own it. So that issue has not yet been resolved, nor has it been dismissed.
I think the point Jerry was trying to make about, and you can't answer this, and I don't think anyone can, but button up that building, making it airtight, without having climate control inside the building, if there is mold, it's just gonna take off.
Right.
I mean, that could be,
I have to
is that kind of what you were leading up to? Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand that concern, and all I can say is that at some point, somebody's gonna have to pull the trigger on, what are we gonna do with some of these buildings that, I'm not just speaking about that building, obviously, some of these buildings that really either need to come or go, and which way do you wanna have it? Is something that is 50 years old or 70 years old, is something that's 200 years old more interesting to save? Those are value questions, those are,
Yeah.
Legitimate questions, you're right.
yeah,
But either way, we own it. It is our building.
That's
And
correct.
whatever happens with it is our responsibility.
that's correct.
And we have to
Yeah.
retain its value to
Right.
the town.
Right,
If we're
right.
gonna do so.
So, everybody says, well, we spent blah, blah, blah money on it. That's nice. I had my 30th birthday. That's nice. I'm not looking back. I'm looking that way. So, you have to believe to invest, and you have to invest to improve. Oh, I'm good today.
Invest in the future.
I served,
And it's almost 8 o'clock.
Tricia and I served the Council on Aging corned beef and cabbage meal today, and we had on green, I had to go home because I
Green
smelled like
whatevers.
corned beef and cabbage.
I saw that, yeah.
And it was great fun, and then we've been to a ribbon cutting at Cape Cod Coffee, and if you haven't been there, go. Awesome, outstanding. Then here, but in the meantime, I went and created an agenda, and what else did I do?
Scheduled a meeting
I did,
or two.
yeah, so, and I'm getting ready for tomorrow meeting that I hope you're all coming to, which is in the Town Hall Auditorium, when the Police Study Committee and the Select Board see the presentation and hope to figure out where we stand.
What time does that start?
5?
Five.
5 o'clock in the auditorium.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
To let us know.
AM?
Yeah, not getting up 5
I don't know, some people call people early in the morning, it's, I don't know. But anyway, any other questions, Counselor? Thank you very much, Ms.
Go home.
Appreciate your information.
I gotta figure out that title issue.
I like that.
It can't be that hard. I don't
Did
get
they
it.
already put you through the ringer?
They did.
Your court makes
Okay,
a
next
decision.
item on our agenda
Nice to you, and then
is
Wareham
discussion.
High School won.
Oh,
They did, good for
All
them.
Oh, they're in the state championship game.
awesome.
Yep,
They
so, Wareham was 69, the other school was 32.
Nice.
Wow.
Good job.
All right, good for them.
Basketball.
We're going to state championship now.
Yep.
Okay, the articles that we've already read or heard of, and those that we have not. We haven't heard of the capital plan, and Jerry, the 22nd.
Next week.
No, the week after, because the week after, we're having a capital planning at 1 o'clock. And we're having the capital planning for both the annual as well as the special.
Special, okay.
And that evening, Derek and I are gonna present the capital plan for both the annual as well as the special.
I thought I requested that you pick up the pace over there.
We're pacing as fast as we
It was
can.
supposed to be tonight, Jerry.
This is a marathon, not a sprint.
All right, that's.
Okay, that would be,
You lay a plan out, Tom.
that would be the 29th, I think, couldn't it?
You run a
Then you
Swiss
go into
bank, you run a
class.
Swiss bank?
Yeah, that would be the 29th,
Credit Suisse?
and we have schools that.
We know you're pushing, yeah. It's good.
Yep, we'll do it, okay, it's 29th, because I think we'll need it anyway. And Article 7 is the budget, which we haven't finalized as yet. The 9th is, Article 9 is Upper Cape, which I talked to the superintendent, and he's scheduled for next week, 22nd. I went over to Upper Cape Sunday afternoon. There was a matinee performance of their drama club, and I can't think of the name now, the Horrors. Anyway, they did an excellent job at a musical, no less. And I'm thinking with their schedule, they're primarily freshmen and sophomores. Juniors are there, but they're starting to get choice of their co-op job, and so they don't have as much time available. Yet there was a large group, they sang every song, they were pretty good considering, and the time frames that they had to donate to rehearsal and all, I would say they took the late bus quite frequently. But they did a pretty good job. And Roger, the superintendent, was the first person eaten. That was his whole part. He just went into the store, anybody here? Nope, gulp. He was done. But it was very good.
The Upper Tech budget, Bernie, it's gonna be a 3.94 increase, 90,000 for Wareham and 11 more Wareham students, if I remember exact.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, are you gonna do the presentation to us, or?
No, Roger's gonna come, or the superintendent, Roger Forget,
Okay, because,
on the 20th.
no, to the select board. You were supposed to come to us last night. You and Fitch and Meyer. We asked
Oh.
you.
I never got a notice.
Okay, so do you want us to ask the superintendent instead?
You can, it's gonna, wanna
Oh,
make it a
sorry.
joint meeting, or, no?
Well, he's already scheduled for us for the
Yeah, he's scheduled
22nd.
on the 20th.
For
I
Roger.
can find out if he wants.
We would be the 21st.
Okay, let me just make a note, and I'll get back to you, Judy,
Thanks,
okay?
yeah, thanks.
The 21st is the select meeting,
Yep.
and you'd like either Roger or me and Bob to do
Yeah,
it, to
somebody
present
can-
it.
Yep, please.
Sure, you got it.
And I've also scheduled Jimmy Goberti, chairman of the sewer commissioners, to do the enterprise fund on the 22nd also. And we now have the Tremont Nail Factory. We have more information on that. We could vote on that if you'd like, because this is the second time we've heard it. Then there's the Wareham Middle School project, or the roof replacement project. The selectmen voted no action, and we will see them on the 29th, because we'll also have the schools here for their budget on the 29th. I invited the whole school committee. April won't be here, she has a work meeting, but the rest have acknowledged that they will probably be here. And Article 19 is the McKinney-Vento funds for transfer. And
Did that?
I have more information on that. I think I have a better information on the McKinney-Vento in print, but of course, they'll describe it for us that evening. And we just heard from the three petition, 20, 21, and 22. So we'll take care of that next week. And the special hasn't even been opened yet, but it's a full evening supposedly with budget transfers, program, spring capital, transfer available funds, PEG access, union contracts, the opioid stabilization fund, earth removal engineering study, I hadn't heard about that in a while, the West Wareham School, Bayview Park, Wareham Littleton Drive, we've heard those, and the harbor services, that's the change, because the one from the original annual is going to be withdrawn. Gary found out that when our contract for the purchase 2 motors that we we approved 2 years ago, it didn't have a price control written into the contract. So as the cost increased, the price went up eventually. So I think it's about 18,000 he actually is requesting now for that particular line. And then there's,
That was 16 in
You didn't have it in there at all. You had to add, you had to add $18,000.
and there's maybe Article 13 and 14. One is the density and dimensional regs, which I presume is a bylaw. And then the Wareham Village Reinvestment Subdistrict, I presume that is also some change to our regulations.
Yep.
That would be proper height.
I can speak to the article about the earth removal if you would like.
Certainly it's not on the agenda, but we'll accept the chairman's
Okay.
words of wisdom.
We know that the issue of earth removal, whether legal, permitted, or not, is an issue. And so I wrote an article to engage an engineering firm to do a study on how to actually figure out how to do this the right way. We have an earth removal bylaw. I've compared it to other towns. There's some things that we could probably do differently. But we need to know where we are today before we can move forward. Man, I'm telling you. So it's a $50,000 article. And that is the intent, is to figure out how we can get some people who apparently are removing earth without permits to actually play the game. We only have one company right now that reports to us quarterly on earth removal, on the cubic yards that they remove.
Any good questions?
Revenue, we like that. Good.
Carver's having a significant difficulty over there.
Fines and more fines.
There's,
Yeah, okay.
Actually, Mr. Turner issued a stop work order on Bay Point because they were moving earth off the location.
they had an enormous pile.
They did. And they
Oh,
got
no.
to stop work.
Good for him.
Yeah, it's going on everywhere right now.
Yeah, any other questions,
Seems so.
comments?
I can talk to WV1 if you want.
Okay,
Oh, no. Okay, WV1 is to create a subsection in downtown Wareham, which is already WV1. So this would be WV1R. What it entails is having created zoning that would allow investors to invest in downtown in a specific area. It starts at the Narrows and it goes up to Sawyer Street, I believe. Okay.
Sawyer.
And the ability to go above 50 feet would lie with the planning board's ability to give a special permit. Talking with different investors, unless you can make a return, you don't invest, right? So some of the buildings that are downtown clearly need to go away. The Wareham Redevelopment Authority doesn't want to buy some of those buildings because in order for the town to take a building down, you'd pay another third, blah, blah, blah. But we are trying to encourage investment by making it more attractive to investors who might want to build a mixed-use building that would hold up to maybe, I think it's 30 units by going up to the 50 feet, or going to the 65 if necessary, if that's what it takes. Obviously, the water issue, the high tides, the rising sea level, blah, blah, blah. my belief is that the railroads will not just abandon the only route to the Cape. My belief is, at some point in time, the railroad is gonna make the decision to create some kind of barrier to, it's not gonna be the, Bedford Hurricane Dike, it's gonna be some way of protecting their investments, only rail to the Cape. And as you know, all of the trash from the Cape comes up that way to go to CMAS. In order for somebody to make their money, maybe 20, 25 years. Okay, so if downtown's gonna be underwater in 70 years, do I care? No, I'm gonna make my money in 25 and I'm gonna be able to do that. But unless there are ways for people to get to go higher than is currently allowed, that's what we're aiming for. In the bylaw, there's all sorts of encouraging language. I think the language about we strongly discourage, we strongly encourage. You can't make people make it look like Cape Cod, but it's the language has been refined with some help from some very knowledgeable individuals as to be encouraging language, to encourage investment. I can tell you that there are the individuals who own Minerva's Pizza own 4 buildings downtown. Are they dumb? No. So the older generation, older than you and me, are moving on and selling those buildings. And the people who see an opportunity to make money are buying those buildings. And as you know, there are 3 liquor licenses that do not have locations attached to them. There are 5 liquor licenses for downtown, 2 for Danny Warren, 1 at the building at the end, and then 1 that would go into Advanced Motors, which he owns now, and has actually thrown a couple of ideas across our board. 1 would be like an upscale steakhouse, and then the other is I don't know how to explain it, like a video reality game place.
Virtual reality.
Yeah, thank you. And it was fascinating. I never even heard of these things, but I got the presentation. I'm like, oh, this is fun. This is really fun. And no, they're real video games. I mean, not video games. What do you call them?
Meta.
You go to an arcade games, okay? Like Whack-A-Mole. We should have one of those here.
We should have more than one.
Or, pinball machines, that kind of stuff.
Skee-ball? Yeah.
Skee-ball. Okay, so there's a guy who actually, for the past 30 years, has been buying up all of these pieces of equipment, and he rents them to people who have these locations. He switches them out every month or so that you never have the same game. Gary Buckminster thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And
Very retro.
Play arcade in New Bedford, right on Union
yeah,
Street.
there's one in Hyannis, I think there's one in Plymouth, and there is one in New Beige.
Yeah.
I'm too old. Unless it's Whack-A-Mole, then I really want it.
Can't believe you remember that. I remember playing it, don't get me wrong, I remember.
But how good were you at it? I was pretty good. No, I think we need one here, because I think that's kind of what we are seeing, is the issues that just keep coming up. Every time you get one,
Just whack it down again. It's our
Put some
life.
names on it, perfect. Dominic?
Bobbleheads. Yeah.
Is this article got to do with, didn't they say for the train station that we needed a more dense residential part of the area?
That's the law, but we already believe that we already have zoning that takes care of that, and we already believe, this is not an effort to meet that law.
Okay.
This has been in the work for 2 years, okay? The other thing I think I could add in, if I could,
Certainly.
I'm going way off here. The railroad has offered to build 2 crossings at their expense. As you know, it's against the law to cross the tracks. As you also know, it's really attractive on the riverside, right? So if we get the railroad to build those 2 access points, then the plan to perhaps put a floating walkway from one end to the other, which has been in the works, again, you've been around for a long time, might be a reality. Awesome. We could do fireworks and, fire water like they do in Providence. And I can think of things I would burn in the.
I always thought that the railroad would be the impediment to complete that vision.
So there's a lot of really good stuff going on. And there are a lot of moving parts, and we need to be able to make sure those moving parts keep moving and hopefully reinvigorate downtown.
The investors are already looking to buy up parts of downtown.
Well, some guy from Revere now owns some of those buildings.
Yeah,
Revere or,
Deacon's Block.
yeah, is it Revere?
Yeah.
Someplace,
It's been knocking on my door.
yeah. So why are they doing that? Because they're gonna lose money?
No,
No. Yeah,
the word is the train's coming sooner than we think. But who knows?
I don't think this is wood.
Okay,
no, it's not.
That's not my.
railroad's a little out of the scope of the
Sorry.
article.
But thank you for all this information.
Yes.
Yes.
But this is interesting. I always run a meeting like this. It's wide open. Information is the important thing.
I hate meetings like that. I don't run them like that.
I love watching your meetings every night. It's the best thing. I go to bed early, sleep like a baby, no problem.
Love you too.
Okay, going backwards now. Things we may be able to approve on, let's see. The Tremont Nail,
I move to recommend.
Second.
motion made and seconded to recommend. Any further discussion? There being none, may a clerk call the roll, please?
Jody?
He doesn't want to be first.
No, listen, yes.
Tom? No. Julie?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jerry?
No.
Myself, no. Norma?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
5:30.
Yeah, 530.
Let's see. The Harbor Services, originally, we approved. That'll be withdrawn, so we'll have to do another approval on the
Amount.
Special.
special
Yeah.
when we get there. The 2021 and 22, we heard this evening, are typical. We wait a week. If you prefer not to, it's fine. But if you do, I'll hear a motion this evening. There being none, we'll move on. On the special warrant, we've heard on the West Wareham School.
Bernie, I'd like to make, can we go backwards for a second? I'll make a motion to approve Article 21, the playground revolving fund.
Okay,
Second?
motion's made and second. Any further discussion? There being none, will the clerk call the roll, please?
Tom?
Yes. I don't mind being first.
Julie?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Just the playground.
Norma?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
800.
Okay, there's some housekeeping
I'm gonna think about the dam one.
that it'll be S5, which is the PEG access receipts to Wareham Community TV. It's in order to give WCTV the funds from Xfinity and Comcast. They are put on, they come from both entities to the town, which places them in a separate fund, and then town meeting has to transfer from that fund to WCTV as an entity. So we haven't heard on it, but that's what we do. It's a housekeeping issue that we have to
I
perform.
make a
every
motion
year.
to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? Questions? There being none, may I ask clerk call the roll? Yes.
Just for your information, the negotiations with Verizon have not yet been completed by our cable advisory committee.
They're
still
aren't
negotiating.
the funds deposited quarterly? They're not all at once?
Yeah,
So there's funds
I
there.
just want you to know
Yeah, it's-
that we're still working, not we, but the town is still working on it through its cable advisory committee.
Okay, but we're not, I don't think we're transferring a
No.
specific amount. We're just authorizing the transfer of what is in the account.
Right.
Yes.
Is that Tom?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? Yes. Myself, yes?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Bernie? 800. Easiest one, sir.
And West Wareham School, that's they want to restore the exterior,
What is the new number for that?
S9. It's S9 now, but these haven't, as I said, the warrant isn't open. But we've heard these issues, so we can approve them, since they're petitioned.
Can we talk about that before you vote on it?
Of course.
You know what I'm gonna say.
It's, of course,
Okay, they
it's not on-
they just bought the building from the town. Now you wanna give money to them, and it's a private enterprise, and I'm against it. End of conversation.
And I'll say, I spoke last week, I kind of grouped all three of them together, my feelings remain
But
the
they
same.
just bought it from the town, now they want money to fix it. I mean,
You know how I feel about it.
well, and they, as you recall, this is the exterior, and they really hadn't quite finalized the interior, and they may be back next for the interior, it just
Private
doesn't.
enterprise, they
Yeah.
bought it, let them fix it.
Yeah,
Okay, on the article of it, entertain a positive motion.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion, questions? There being none, may I ask clerk call the roll?
No. Julie?
no,
Jody?
No.
Tom?
No.
Jerry?
No.
Myself, no. Norma?
No.
And Bernie?
No.
They agreed with me.
0.
Finally got through to me, Tom.
And you're leaving the room?
He's gonna quit a winner.
We got another one coming up, Dominic, don't run off yet.
I have to go pee, okay?
Oh, thanks for sharing that.
Kelly, don't put that in the record.
yeah, it is. Oh, boy.
Oh, my goodness, my goodness. I wonder if life is like that. They don't have meetings like that over in sewer.
No.
They talk about other things.
Yeah.
Okay. We have heard on Article, the S14.
Didn't we already? Oh,
But Dominic's, we'll wait for Dominic.
That's 14.
No, yep,
It's S14, it's an imaginary number, although I'm giving a number, it's
So you're saying
arbitrary,
Wareham
because they haven't opened or
one
closed
hours.
that warrant yet.
No, I understand
But
that.
what is the subject?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Wareham
it's
redevelopment.
it's
1R, the 1R?
WV1R.
Yeah.
I had to look back and said, what the hell was that?
So.
And then I finally read it, oh, okay.
We haven't actually had that posted, even though I know we heard the final
You have a
word
very
on
good
it.
point there, yes.
I think we probably should not vote on that one. I agree.
Excellent suggestion.
Point of order.
Yes,
If we haven't opened a warrant, there are no articles to vote on.
That's true.
on this.
you're so practical. Take the fun out of it, gee whiz.
I'm tired of answering the attorney agenda.
She's new, you might like her. I mean, we moved the other one out of there, and we gave her another government job.
No comment?
Smile, is that all right?
Point taken. In that case, there's, let's see, let's go back to our agenda. Tomorrow, there's the joint public safety study. By all means, 5 o'clock. That should be very interesting. A lot of things have occurred in the last 3 years, almost 4 years, regarding both issues. Monday, week from this coming Monday, Chapter 70. And Derek needs your name and email, because this is a charge. It is a Zoom.
Oh, it's a Zoom call, yeah, I
This
see
is
it,
a-
I see
So
it.
how do we get that to him? Just
Email him.
Send him an email.
Okay,
Make sure you identify
okay.
the purpose of it specifically, because you'll see the email and it'll give them pause.
So it's gonna
Patty
be-
probably will
To
take care of
A
Derek.
it.
Zoom meeting next Monday night?
Yes,
Yes,
yep.
That's chapter 70, is it the Monday?
Actually, I think it was during the day, isn't it?
it is during the day.
It's
It's
in the
March
morning,
20th from 9 AM to 1 PM.
Yes,
Okay.
that was what I had on my schedule.
Costs will be covered by the town administrator's office, but he does need your name and email address, so they will give you the ID and password. And let's see, I got a note, but I don't know why. Okay, now, as far as, let's say the articles we reviewed, we all take turns at writing the recommendations. And what I ask for is volunteers, or do you want me to assign? But I would prefer volunteers, because that would mean you know, you feel you know enough about it and have an opinion.
You assign them.
You assign anything no one volunteers for.
Does anyone have an
I gotta
interest?
do the 2 capital plans.
Jerry does the capital,
That
okay.
makes sense.
I can do the Tremont Nail Factory office building.
And
I'll do Upper Tech, Bernie. And I'll do 21 also.
okay, and
I'll do 20. We've done the rest of the sewer ones the last couple meetings, so
okay,
we'll stick with that.
I'll do the minority view on 12.
I can do Sawyer Conservation as well.
what number is that, please?
13, sorry.
You want?
Okay, Jerry does the capital planning, Dominic's doing Upper Cape, Norma's doing Woodland Cove. That's 12. Number 13 is Sawyer Conservation.
I'll do the depot water too, 14.
I was gonna say I'd do that one negative, but if you wanna do it, go ahead.
Okay,
Overall, it was
Matt does
negative.
the 14, Matt does 20, which is the terminated contract Swift Speech. Dominic does 21. Did I miss anything that you would,
Bernie, you have me at 13 and 15, right?
We're gonna write
Miss
something
15,
on
I
the
do.
revolving accounts too,
13
Bernie,
and
the easy
15.
ones. We're gonna do one for everyone?
no, I'm not, the housekeeping, we typically just.
That's what I mean, you're gonna take
Yeah,
care of
but,
all those?
yeah, I
Okay,
just cut and paste, where, the one we gave 3-4 years ago.
okay.
If there's something, though, you'd like to do in that particular article, by all means, if you want.
No, I just was gonna pick a few, they're simple. But if you're gonna just do them all like last year, that's fine.
Okay, the article, let's see. On Tron, amend the zone of parking, that's kind of a housekeeping, it's just, yeah, I finally understood what they meant there when you explained it to me. Who saw the presentation to the selectmen last night by the school department?
Family.
Apparently, in their request, they did not present any source for the funding for the $7 million they want, irrespective of the fact that MSBA is subsidizing some of it. But they didn't provide any source for the funding for the $7 million to repair bridges. I mean, irrespective of the fact that MSBA is subsidizing a good portion of the 7.5 million. We have to borrow 7.5, so we have to authorize the borrowing. And we have to identify where it's gonna come from. And they did not. They actually said they don't know. I was aghast. Someone from the audience.
Yeah, somebody in the audience, okay. So I had a piece of paper in front of me, as did all of my board members. Tricked me again. And the piece of paper that I had in front of me last night had not only the entire article, as well as the motion, as well as the explanation. It also had a note that we had to put it on the ballot for a bond.
It is a
So-
debt exclusion.
Yes,
Gonna
so
be.
that note was actually on the document that had been prepared for us, sent to us. So I submit that I could have answered the question.
But you said they had the article.
We had the
Does
entire,
it say anything in the article that's gonna be presented on the floor
I had
indicate
the
an
article
override?
and the motion and the explanation and the note under the explanation that it had to go on the ballot as a debt exclusion. The entire thing was
The note
spelled
was
out.
in the explanation or in the article itself? Because it has to be in the article itself.
I don't remember, I don't remember reading the whole motion. All I know is that I had the entire article, the motion. I am presuming that somebody
Prepared that.
correctly.
Because we haven't seen anything, of course.
I will send it to you tomorrow, sir.
Please.
Thank you.
Because the MGL has specific language that is required to be used when you go for the debt exclusion.
Right. And the presentation was sketchy on details.
It certainly left wanting.
I understand on the ballot, are they saying they want it on this May's ballot that the entire town's gonna vote on, and we're just hearing about this
Wow.
now? This is the first I've heard of it. Well, I listened last night somewhat,
No,
but,
excuse me, it's on the annual, so you really couldn't take action to put it on the ballot yet.
I don't put it on the ballot. Yeah, that's correct. It probably wouldn't go onto the ballot until,
You'd have to call
The
a
next
special
one.
election, or wait until fall. No, wait,
till next May.
Next
Or whatever.
No, we don't have another election next year, the year after.
it would be a
May
year
of
from May.
24.
Yeah, for May.
I will get you the document.
You know, that's why I couldn't understand, they have a roof that failed, but they're not planning on doing the work till the summer of '24. And I'm thinking, if it's failed that badly, what do we, and I'm not saying we give them the money or not give them the money, I'm just saying I just was a little confused if a roof is, if they're putting pails out all over the school to collect water, why aren't we fixing
They
that?
also said that part of it's being fixed this summer.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
so a small portion. It's a really weird,
The 1.2
That was only applied, we approved last time, right?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's last year, yeah.
if they're saying there's other big sections that have failed, then I'm thinking,
Yeah, that which
you
is
gotta
the
wait a
most
whole
money.
year, or whatever.
I would have hoped they have a line item, have the decency to put a line item in their budget for the maintenance, and considering they're sitting on $3 million over and above what we're appropriating for them, then they should start paying. Because it's basic, as you and I discussed, John Foster's provide us the information.
Yeah.
$77 per million on the tax.
And 23 cents. And that's just for the school.
That's for the schools indeed, because as we've has been discussed, we have the police station, which we're seeing tomorrow. Then we have Degas, and then we have
Sewer.
a total
Wastewater.
sewer over a period of about 110 million, and
No,
we're only looking for 36.
180.
180,
Yes, sir.
and it didn't account for inflation.
Only around with 36 million.
36 is for nothing. That's the clarifiers. The
Yeah.
whole ball of wax is 180-ish.
I remember Senator Dirksen, who's long passed, years ago, was well of the Senate. $1 million here, $1 million there, pretty soon you're talking real money. It's disappointing that there isn't a better relationship. And I think it's, to say I've had notes and that have expressed their opinions, and I find them very disappointing that people have to feel that way. But I'm just aghast that they came with that in mind. They didn't provide us with a complete plan. Just told us that's not their job. Administration has enough problems trying to figure out how to get the job done with the minimal staffing we have and the dollars that we don't have. Okay, anything else?
Have you made a decision on the chairman's letter? How are we gonna break that down?
The chairman will write a paragraph of his own, as you all
Are you gonna assign
asked to do.
departments, or as I was kind of
You
suggesting?
know, each person can do their own. I won't assign, although I can if it's necessary, but I'd rather you chose something you're interested in and are concerned about.
Yeah, well, my only thought was I don't wanna write the same thing as Tom,
So
you
you
know.
want us to just tell, I think we
Well,
did.
next week, come in
Okay.
and tell me something, or if you can do it now, I'll make a note of it and see if there is duplications.
Okay, got it.
In more than one sentence.
All right.
I like Tom said, 250 words in 30 seconds, is that what it was?
Yeah.
I'm a man of few words, Bernie.
Yes, I know.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
You just lost a turn.
That's okay.
Motion's made and seconded. Any
We're in a
discussion?
death
There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye, aye, aye.
I shouldn't ask the chair about